Ashish Gakre. I'm joint convener of KoloKwi, and I welcome everybody on the behalf of the global session which we are organizing. But before that, I would like to say that, wherever you are, please be safe, take care of yourself. That is the request, and don't venture out, and please take care of everyone in your family as well. So yes, we are back, and this is the monthly session of our global HR gathering, which we do it, and this is happening under the banner of Kontempore and KIT University. So the schedule for what's going to happen in next 90 minutes, I will briefly touch upon. After my speech, I will hand over to Dr. Sanjay Muttal to give the opening remark. Once that is done, then I will request Dr. Badri to take it over, who's none other than moderator of the session. And topic is really interesting, humanizing digitalization. We will get to hear, even I would like to learn a lot from our speaker. We are all learning at the same time, we are teaching as well. And then there will be a round of conversation with the panelists. Dr. Badri will drive it. There will be a Q&A if you get the time. Please keep posting your views on the chat box. Dr. Badri may pick up from pick up something from there. And if we get a time, we'll take the question. Yeah, 90 minutes is there overall. Okay, so before I start, let me talk about the Kalinga University. As I said, this is happening under the banner of Kalinga, or we can call it KIT University, which is the Dean University now, and it is an institute of eminence now. This is founded by visionary philanthropist Dr. Achyuta Samanta, and this university ranked 24th in the prestigious NIRF ranking, and it is one of the progressive university. In case some of you have visited, Bhubaneswar campus, where you can see 30,000 students, huge campus, spread on in 25 square kilometer. Yeah. So that is about the KIT University in a brief. And the Kontempore is another body which is, under this platform which is happening, and this is, and we have CEO of Kontempore in the session, and this was started in 2018, knowledge management platform, and today it has transformed into digital company which deal with knowledge, business solution, and many other activity related to the organization. It helps to develop innovative technology-based solution to fulfill HR and other related activities. In case some of you must have attended the quick talk, which was, I would call it the Indian HR session. This is the global HR session of which is named as a KoloKwi, and we have done. We have conducted 5 sessions, and we started with Southeast Asia. And overall in Southeast Asia, we did 3 sessions where there were 20 global speakers from 11 countries: Hong Kong, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, China, New Zealand. List goes on. And the last one we did it for Middle East Asia, where we had a speaker from UAE, Abu Dhabi, and other places of Middle East. And right now, the second session happening of Middle East Asia, we have speakers from Turkey, Oman, UAE, and India. This will go on. After this, we will go to African region, then we'll go to the USA, we'll go to the Canada and Europe. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you all the speakers accepting our invite. And as I said, the schedule which I just discussed, and I would request speaker to also touch upon, little bit on their background, because some of the thing, they like to share with the delegate, and we would like to know that, obviously. And so let me just say who are the speaker. So let me start with, Mitu Bhadra. She is head people and culture, Alabar Enterprise, UAE. Then we have Neslihan Organ Gumruku. She is Middle East, Asia, Vice President, Talent Management, Learning, and Middle East Secure Power IT Business HR Lead, Schneider Electric, Turkey. Then we have Rula Shubir. She is HR Head for Ministry of Industrial and Advanced Technology. And the last we have Vikas Mishra, Director, Rwanda Operation, Chief Organization Planning and Development Officer, Mawarid Mining, which is part of MB Holding Group, and Vikas is coming from Oman. So they are the speaker from UAE, Turkey, Oman, and the last none other than, no, that was the second last, Dr. Badri Narayan, Director HR, Deloitte, India. And the last one is, which I will hand over now, Dr. Sanjay Muttal, CEO of Kontempore, India, who's a role model, coach, mentor for me. He has a more than 2 decades of experience, Ramal, but after that, you had a lot of entrepreneurship venture, and he has a rich experience. You can find him many places, and very detail oriented, touching on the HR and business. He keep talking to a lot of CEO, I know, and getting a lot of input on the business, HR and all. Topic is humanizing digitalization. I will also share the LinkedIn link of all the speakers so that you can get to know where they are working, what was their past and all. But yes, as I said, please, if in case you want to touch upon about some other achievement of yours, please do that when your turns come on. Dr. Sanjay Muttal, over to you now, the CEO of Kontempore.
Thank you, Ashish, and welcome everyone. Good evening from India, good afternoon in the Middle East, Ahle wa sahlan. Fantastic, great to have all of you this afternoon, and also welcome to all around 70 odd friends who have joined us this evening on a very interesting topic called Humanizing Digitalization. So we're talking about 2 facets of business. One is the digitalization, which is imperative in these days. But suddenly we now saying that, can you humanize that? Is there a dichotomy there? Is there a symbiotic relationship there? Is there a convergence there? Is something that this afternoon or this evening, the esteemed speakers will probably try to unravel this mystery for all of us. If you look at the history of digitalization, especially, and I can speak in the context of India, when the automation started in Indian industry in the 80s and 90s, there was a huge pushback from employees, unions. It happened world over, but more so in this part of the world, where people thought anything gets automated will amount to job losses. And therefore, they were organized demonstration, they were organized protest against the automation, against the computerization. We rode that wave. Came Y2K, 2000, and the whole effort of automation, digitization, and IT movement gave India its newest baby on the block, which is what we call as IT sector, which is championed by NASSCOM. IT sector in India is about 194 billion US. It's a huge, huge behemoth of a sector now. Had we stopped automation in 80s, we would have never had an industry like IT services industry at all. So we walked that path. It really gave India center stage in the entire global diaspora of business by putting India at the center stage of IT business and IT industry. Today, any part of the world you go and you meet an Indian, seldom he will never say that what do you do? I work in the industry, IT industry. The digital efforts of every organization had a momentum, had a speed, had a priority in the business objectives of every organization, depending on the sectors that they came in. The The brick and mortar sectors were slow to respond. Obviously, the click and mortar were very quick because that was their business model. Suddenly in 2020, or 19 rather, a very tiny virus came from China, or say, so is understood, we don't know exactly. And through entire ecosystem of businesses, organizations, people, and the entire mankind into a limbo. We didn't know what hit us. Prior to 2020, at least in India, and I'm sure all of our HR conferences, we used to talk about VUCA world. And here was VUCA standing in your door, and you had to respond to that. Response was in terms of shock. When the shock got absorbed, we had to put BCP in place, business continuity plans in place. Some organizations were very quick to respond and put that in place. Organizations which were digitally advanced turned it around quickly and made entire ecosystem go online. Work from home became way of life very quickly. Organizations which were slow to respond to digitalization prior to the pandemic struggled for 3 to 6 months, but put back some kind of a skeletal digital program in their organization. As this was happening, one very, very important thing that was happening in the industry or in the people's sphere or in the employee context was this whole uncertainty about the future. Whole suspense in the minds of employees as to what will happen to their businesses. Are we going to survive? Will I have my job? What will happen to my families? What will happen to my children's education? What will happen to my housing loan, car loans, and what have you? The whole face of, in our context, in HR context, the whole face of organization became one huge area of concern for people, resulting into many implications, but certainly one of them being mental well-being of employees. Organizations, and all of us were saying, even prior to the pandemic, and all of us agree that people are my biggest competitive advantage. In today's day and age, people are our most competitive advantage. But the organizations which actually showed that were the organizations where the leadership, board, and HR leaders brought the basic human value to the fore. Empathy, compassion, inclusivity came to the fore. Leaders put their hands around employees and said, don't worry, we will tide this over together. Organizations which did that well still managed to finish their FY 2021 80%, 90% of their original budget. Organizations which were only talking that people are my competitive advantage, but did not respond to people's needs, employee well-being needs, employee healthcare needs, employee psychological needs, struggled at the financial outcomes of that year. And then we thought that came March that the pandemic seems to be behind us. but the virus seems to be very naughty. It doesn't want to leave us so soon. Comes back and probably is hitting us more viciously than it hit, especially in some parts of the world, including India. Again, plunging the whole business ecosystem into a chaos, into uncertainty, into a future that we're still not very sure what we are going to do with our people, our businesses, and so on. When we were thinking of getting the global diaspora to speak this afternoon, this evening, especially from the Middle Eastern countries like all of you, the esteemed speakers, we really thought that is tomorrow's driver, and I am a firm believer that, you know, basic human what should I say, facets of empathy, compassion, etc. are no more soft skills. They are business skills. Like Gary Hamel wrote, organizations now have to do away with bureaucracy and nurture humanocracy. Can we get away with mindset which treated people as part of policies deployed, as a part of processes deployed, but create a human architecture in the organization which stands the tested and tough times and also holds that edifice unscathed, shock-proof for business continuity and for the business outcomes. I think organizations have this big challenge today in terms of judiciously mixing the human and the technology. At one point in time, as I said, when technologies seemed to be taking away the jobs, suddenly technology in the pandemic was the only boon that kept the jobs going. It was the only way that you could have had business continuity, you could have continued with your jobs, you could have still worked out from home, and you could have still contributed to the organization's performance. But are we now looking at a phase where the digitalization, is it something that is going to give us outcomes which are not people friendly? Are we now looking at outcomes, and future seems to be in a completely digitalization oriented? Technology is going to be the edifice of every business. Engagement models are going to change with people, with gig economy now, and some parts of especially Dubai, etc. We see that clearly. Even in India, we have gig models now. How are we going to maintain this whole message, this whole communication of employee value proposition that organization believes in and has derived and has gone to market with, even when you have disengaged employee, even where people who are not coming to work but are operating from their homes? What are going to be the humanizing challenges in the digital world is the backdrop of our today's deliberations. And I'm therefore not going to take any more, 1 minute more. I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Badri Narayan, who's going to be the Sutradhar, the anchor for this evening, to help us through this, ladies and gentlemen, to look at what are these great organizations in the Middle East did in terms of managing digitalization, but not compromising on humanization. Managing the ecosystem of people with compassion, with empathy, but also ensuring that the business is not lost. So this is going to be extremely engaging conversation for next 90 minutes or so. So I'm looking forward very excitedly for this evening. And I'm going to be around if there are any questions at the end of the session. And so looking forward to a very, very fruitful and engaging conversation. Badri, pleasure is mine to hand it over to you. And good luck to Rula, Neslihan, Vikas, and Mitu. We really look forward to fantastic deliberations this afternoon.
Badri Narayan, Jinabhai.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, requesting all to go on mute. Yeah. We adopt this model so that you can see each other, but please, you're not supposed to talk openly, right? Please go on mute. Video is optional. You can switch on if you're in good sitting position and wearing some cloth. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, Dr. Muttal. Many things coming out. We are dealing with actual VUCA. Technology actually save the corporate world. Without digitalization, you know, we may not have been working the way we are working, and many things happening today. And before I hand over to Dr. Badri, Dr. Badri, data says 60% job will be automated. How much human touch we can create? I think, you know, that can be one of the discussion point. I would like to hear from each one of you, and requesting all speaker, Mitu, Rula, Neslihan, and Vikas, please introduce yourself. As I said, you know, I just touch upon your name, designation, company name. In case you like to share something about you, please briefly touch upon. And yes, so here is the Dr. Badri Narayan from Deloitte, Director HR. He has over 2 decades of experience in the talent function. He has handled HR transformation project in industry like information technology, business processes, outsourcing, and the professional services. Currently, yes, he is Director OD Strategy Project, OD and Strategy Project. He is specialized in leadership and intervention, coaching, facilitation. He has led the project on reinventing performance management, acquisition, instrumental in building the talent strategy as a part of the talent executive leadership. Beside being internal facing, he has faced a lot of clients, and they are from manufacturing, IT, energy sector on leadership. He coached senior leader in country like Manila, Malaysia, Singapore. So rich profile, obviously. Dr. Badri, I'm also requesting you, in case I haven't touched upon a few things about your profile, please do cover. Okay, so I will pause here, hand over to Dr. Badri, and look forward to hear from each one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for setting the context so well. You know, it created a segue for what I wanted to actually introduce. Before that, there's nothing else to introduce from my side, Akshay. So we'll give it to the speakers, and we'll start with Rula. And if Rula can hand it over to Vikas, the Nes, we'll just hear from the speakers, a brief introduction from them, and then we'll straight away dive into our subject. Over to you, Rula.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rula Shubair from Abu Dhabi, from United Arab Emirates, and I'm working with the Ministry of Industrial and Advanced Technology as a HR section head. Thank you for the invitation, and the topic is much. It's one of the hot topics actually nowadays, especially after the pandemic. So as we know that the human capital becomes the most competitive and unique resources in the modern contexts of development and high-tech industries and the information of the digital economy. Also, the ongoing digitalization process have an impact on the formation and development the human capital. the diffusion of innovations and digital technology is observed not only the real sector of the economy, but also the social share, the education, the health, and etc. And we'll know more about the HR transformation and the meaning of the HR transformation. It's the process of fundamental rethinking and restructure the function, department, organization. Also, we can highlight one of the most things which happen in the HR world, which is again the digitalization, and continuously change our work task. It has also had a substantial impact on how we live our life. Everything has been changed. The book become ebooks, the map become GPS, and etc. A lot of other examples in our. The impact also in reducing the unemployment, improving the quality of life, and boosting citizen access to the public services. I think we can move to one of my colleagues.
Mitu, yeah. Mitu, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone, and hope you all are having a great afternoon. Firstly, I do hope all of you in India are keeping safe. And while we are out here, our hearts are out there with you all and with our own families back home. My name is Mitu Bhadra, and I am head of people and culture at a F&B and retail group called Alabar Enterprises based in Dubai, UAE. Our group owns a mix of 15 franchised and homegrown concepts with over 20 plus outlets across the UAE. A little background about myself. I hold a master's degree in human resources management, which I did way back in the early 2000s in HRM from Middlesex University in the UK. And quite recently, I've also done my general management program from Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad. Dubai's been my home for the past 18 years, and seriously, it's been quite a journey for me in every way. I started off as a junior HR assistant and moved up the ladder. And by the way, this was just not a ranked journey for me, but also a complete transformation journey in terms of what the people function actually meant to myself, to me, and to others. I'm very thankful to the Kontempore team and Ashish for this invite. And seriously, I'm very excited to be amongst you all today and deliberate on what better topic than humanizing digital transformation that I have lots of views to share on. Thank you, Dr. Badri.
Lovely. Thanks a lot, Mitu. Let's move to Vikas.
Thank you, Dr. Badri. Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. My name is Vikas Mishra. I'm talking to you from Oman, based in Oman for almost 13 years now. Basically, by education, I'm a HR professional, started as a HR professional, continued to be an HR professional, still an HR professional at heart, but have moved more into strategic business operations now, where I handle a particular country's operations, where we have got different mining projects. In addition to that, I'm also responsible for Mawai Group's planning and organizational development function. This is more about strategy, organizational development, and mergers and acquisitions in the field of mining, basically. Maharid Mining LLC is a part of MB Holding Group. MB Holding is one of the biggest conglomerates in Oman. We have got presence in almost 22 countries, and we have got almost 4,000 employees working worldwide. Maharid Mining as such is also a group of companies where we have got 6 different countries. And yes, the journey with the group has been remarkable. I basically joined this group somewhere in 2008, where we were kind of going into a transform phase where we were changing the HR from a normal routine HR operations to a business partner. So yeah, we have, I think one of our biggest achievements here in MB Group or in mobile mining has been where that HR function now is aligned totally to the business and contributes fully to the business rather than just being a support function. And I think having a good understanding of people have helped me to kind of move on to roles which are more in the general management nature. Yeah, and apart from that, yeah, my education, I think I missed that. So I am a master's in personal management from University of Pune. In addition to that, I've done a number of leadership courses. I've also done a executive development program from Accelerate Jamshedpur. And I'm a certified senior certified human resource practitioner from SHRM USA. So that's my basic introduction. I think we can discuss about today's topic, which indeed is something which is very, very interesting, and it is totally in relevance to what the situations that we are facing today in regards to the digital transformation or digitalization involving humans. I think there can't be any, the need of digitalization is because we have people. So they are aligned or they are interconnected. One cannot be done without other.
Thanks so much, Vikas. Ness, can we hear you?
Hi everyone, thank you. First of all, I'm wishing you that you are all safe wherever you are based. I think we are more or less in the same conditions. My name is Nesli Han, joining the session from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm proudly working for Schneider Electric, and I'm leading the talent and learning function for Middle East and Africa. And also I'm the HR lead for IT business for Middle East and Africa. I have been in Schneider Group for about 3.5 years until today, and I have been in HR field for 20 years now. I worked in various HR functions, mainly in HR business partnership, talent management, and organizational development. Before joining Schneider, I was part of a global pharmaceuticals company where I spent my 16 years in HR function again. I have a master's degree in psychology. Last but not the least, I'm a passionate female leader from this region to nurture more females into the workforce. And I'm voluntarily mentoring and coaching females and spend time for this as a meaningful purpose in life. Actually, thank you for inviting me to this very important session, as I'm truly very interested in digitization and how it impacts skills and capabilities. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks a lot, Ness, and thanks to all the panelists for introducing themselves. I think this is for everybody. This is one generation, and this group of panelists, let me just tell you, we were not born with iPads in our hands. We were not born with the latest gadgetry that one can claim of. We as a generation, I guess we've moved from operating on diaries to experiencing the first big PC, right, to getting our first laptops where we were excited, and now we're at a Zoom generation, right? So we have seen this transformation, and most importantly, this entire panel has grown from the ranks of HR where we were always made to listen to things like walk the floor, keep in touch with people. HR is all about keeping in touch with people, getting a pulse of people. What that meant is physical meetings, focus group discussions where we've all grown that path. Look at where we are suddenly, okay, operating out of our homes, appraisals happening. This is our second season of appraisal in Deloitte. I'm sure most of you would have already done one season, right? This is the second season approaching. So in this context, what I would ask all the panelists to talk about, first of all, let us demystify this word digitalization. What does it mean to the HR fraternity, particularly to your lines of businesses? We have a very nice mix of speakers from all industries. decipher this digitalization for us, and what does it mean to the HR fraternity, and the point that Mr. Sanjay made, right? Very pertinent. We'll get to that humanization a little later, but what does this digitalization mean to the HR fraternity, particularly for your lines of businesses? Let's start with Rula. Since we started with her introduction, this is the order we'll follow. Rula, over to you.
Back to your questions, like what is the HR transformation mean? We can say the human resource transformation is the process of fundamental rethinking and restructure the HR function, department, or organization. And we can also highlight the digitalization and how it's changed the way of the human life. So the digitalization, continuously change. I don't know what happened to me. I'm sorry. Continuously change our work task, and less paperwork, less communication, maybe like physical communication, like before. I can still remember that when you join any company, you have to sign this much of documents, while now it's turned to electronic copies, and it's really helped us as a department or as a human resource department to reduce the cost inside the company. It's affected the HR itself in a good way. Most things become similar, and and they are more accessible for everyone. The impact of digitalization also in reducing the unemployment and improving the quality of life and boosting citizen access to public services, which also affect in a good way the people around us. Everything was more easier. I think the new generation is more in digital world, more than us as an old virgin. We start with paperwork, and then we move, as Dr. Badri said, we move to be in a Zoom meeting for now. But this is the truth.
Yeah. So I hear you, Rula. The big emphasis is on missing that physical interactions with employees, and how that has changed is the change that you're witnessing. Good. That's interesting. Moving on, Mithu, what are your thoughts on digitalization, and how has it changed the way you guys operate? There are various facets that we go through, right? Recruitment, performance management, the whole 9 yards. How has it changed, Mithu?
Basically, firstly, let me touch upon what digitalization actually means to the fraternity. I think it's a much overused word over the past decade or so in the HR arena, and but put in very extremely simple jargon, digitalization would mean having life made easier. And for the HR fraternity, this should most importantly mean making life easier as we deal with life itself day in and day out, the lives of our teams. But instead, this has now become one of the biggest challenges probably that the fraternity is facing. Actually, instead of making life easier, digitalization and the disruption that it's been causing is making life extremely challenging and at times tough on professionals. I would say the reason maybe is because the people function entails dealing 90% with emotions and 10% with logic. It is people we deal with. Obviously, they're made up of emotions, and therefore it is this way, and it is to be this way. And And every initiative undertaken in this function, every change proposed, comes with a balance plan. Probably I should say should come with a balance plan, balancing out the quantitative with the qualitative, the hard with the soft. If you delve into technical definition of this word, it would mean an optimization process in which the SMAC technologies are leveraged to make the people function more efficient, effective, and connected. Key outcomes targeted obviously would be to leverage and unlock workforce potential, connect our people to the strategy of our business, a vertical integration, I would say. Most important one, enhance employee experience. The birth of digitalization probably was somewhere in the 1990s, and then a surge was again seen in the mid 2000s. And a Deloitte Global Human Capital Trends report of 2016 says, and I quote, "The era of true digital disruption has finally hit HR." This, guys, was in 2016. And yet today, in 2021, the digital maturity of organizations remains very nascent. A 2020 survey by PwC in association with SAP in the region reveals average digital maturity of organization to be at 35%, those who are in the implementation stage, and at only 9% for those in innovation stage. And the question is why, after such groundbreaking technological advances that the world has been making, is HR digitalization and its maturity still at levels which are far below expectations? And I think the answer is just one: the lack of human touch allocated to this transformation right from the very conceptualization, actually. So in plain and simple words, leveraging the proven advances in efficiencies and people experience that has been brought about by a digital HR environment necessitates dealing with the digitalization process in the most human way possible. Huge changes, like Rula has said, in terms of talent acquisition, in terms of making life faster. But as George Westerman, who is a principal research scientist with the MIT Sloan Initiative, says, when digital transformation is done right, it's like a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. But when it's done wrong, all you have left is a really, really fast caterpillar. And I think this is what we're going to tackle now. And digitalization has changed entirely the function in terms of efficiencies and effectiveness, but the connect, have we really reached that connect? I don't think so. And that is the reason why innovation still remains only at 9%.
Oh, so Mithu, what I hear you say clearly is that there is a lot of talk about it. There is a lot of research out there, and there is clearly a way forward that transformation is the way to go. But is there enough catch up? Is there enough that we're doing in that space to really match the pace of the way we are talking about transformation? In that sense, the audio is not matching the video. There's a lot of audio, and is there enough video congruence is something we need to explore. We'll get there. Thanks, Mithu. Let's move to Vikas.
Thanks, Dr. Badri. You see, in my opinion, in regards to digital transformation, means from a business point of view, I would talk from a business and a HR point of view, both, because we need to understand it as a business requirement as well. Because in today's scenario, no matter how much we may not like to implement digitalization, but it is a necessity. It's not an option. And again, when we do that, I think it is very important for organizations to understand that three things: people, culture, and the business they are in. Like I work for a mining organization. We are into different fields, like the group is into different fields like oil and gas, oil production, EPCM, hotels, and all other things. But all these businesses, all the verticals, they need different kind of digitalization strategy. Like for a mining organization, if someone says that I will digitalize everything, that's not gonna work at all. Why? Because we are a labor-oriented business. We have 80% of our people are basically workmen. And they need to talk to people, as I think Mithu had rightly said, that human connect is required. again, but having said that, it is still important to kind of come up with ways where you can improve existing systems, make them more efficient, be it business processes, products, or customer service. Because if you don't do that, we will be left behind. There's a race going on, and sometimes the race, it's like you have to run that race as well. If you don't do, then you're, even if in an international market, if you go for a project funding, they ask you these questions. You're from the Deloitte, Dr. Badri, you must be knowing. The bankers will come to you and ask you what systems do you have in place, just in order to understand how well are you managing those your business. And the way they gauge it or they measure it is by having what kind of systems do you have in place. As I said, like we as a mining organization, when we started this journey of digitalization, we basically looked into our business. We very well knew, and I'm not saying we never made a mistake. We started with a big mistake where, for our mining business, there was a requirement where we wanted to, there was an issue because, mining is a business where HSE measures are very, very strong, and they are also mandated by the government regulatory authorities. So we had manual systems in place, but we decided that, fine, what we need to do is that we need to have a biometric. It's a very, very basic thing to have and that was back in 2010 or 2011. To have a biometric attendance system in place, so that we are fully aware how many people at one point of time are in the pit, the mining pit, how many people are in the mining, say, office, and all that stuff. It was a requirement because we were supposed to send those reports to the government authorities, the regulators. Because in case of any eventuality, unforeseen circumstances, you should know you should know your head count, how many people have you been able to kind of evacuate if anything happens. So it was mandated by the government, and we basically went ahead with it. We spoke to the IT guy and IT manager, and the IT told us, yes, we can use this system. However, when we did that, we had very little time to engage with people. We had very little time to engage with people, and the project, since we all were relatively, as you rightly said, that we were not born with this iPads with us, so we were new to it. IT manager used to be the expert guy who used to guide us, and he said, yes, I can come up with a system and we can do it in 4 days. And I think we had a timeline to do it in a week or 10 days time. And we went ahead with it. However, since we were not able to engage with the employees in a fashion that we should have done, the people were skeptical about it. And also it was done for their benefit because there are overtimes in a mine, there are HSE requirements, but they thought that there is a mistrust between the management and the employees. And they were of the view that we have been working so hard. And again, we are not a very old mining organization. We are relatively new. We started in somewhere around 2007, 2008. So some of the people who at that time were working with us were working with us since the beginning. So initially we faced quite a number of challenges in making it happen. However, then we sat down and we realized that the mistake that we made is that we didn't engage with our employees. We didn't tell them what is the purpose of doing it and how they will benefit out of it. Every month they used to complain about their overtime and their attendances. And then when we went ahead and showed them, look, this is the reason why it has been done. Again, 100% of the people all the people will not accept your argument or your rationale. But if you are even able to convince 70% of your people, you will be able to execute things. So that is one instance where you can digitalization, and it's a very basic digitalization. It's not something big. Same thing happened when we were a lot more mature, I would say, when we started our ERP implementation, the Oracle HR MS model. When we started that, first thing that we did is we planned it well. We said we have to implement an ERP system, so let's have a plan. and by that time we were relatively good at understanding the whole requirement, and we had a planning function as well. So we said we need a system which can talk to different departments. So if you have Oracle HRMS, then you have to have a similar system. You can't have Tally in finance and Oracle in HR. So that is how we planned, and then we went about whole thing, and then we also asked people, the concerned people. You see, to me or to us, it is. I think everybody would agree that digital transformation is more of a change management process than of anything else. I don't know where I heard this thing, but someone once told me that when you are digitalizing things, it is not the technology which is more often the bottleneck. It is your culture and your people.
True.
So we basically started with that. Again, it was never easy. These things are never easy. I think, as other panelists said, that people are emotional beings. Sometimes logic doesn't work. Mm-hmm. They are basically run by emotions. So you have to make them. If we are able to kind of make them see what they are getting out of it, then it is a lot more easier. A buy-in is required from the stakeholders, and the stakeholders, I would say, the most important stakeholders of any transformation, be it digital or anything that you want to change, are people. People, when we say that, especially in digitalization, I'm not only counting the people who work for the organization. Your customers are also very, very important. Again, this is from the business context. Suppose you are coming up with a software which basically analyzes your customer feedback, and you have designed it in a way that the customer is not at all happy to do it. It is too lengthy. It asks some personal questions. It asks for too much of data. In today's date, nobody wants to do that. So basically, if we don't understand the needs and wants of our people, again, having said that, both customers and our people, no digital transformation can be used.
Yeah.
Have a meaningful impact.
So Vikas, the most important thing you're touching on is train the people in understanding the digitalization processes that you're doing. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Because doing something and floating it around without training them enough is going to come and bite us back.
Absolutely, and any digitalization, as Dr. Badri, you rightly said it, and it has to serve their needs and wants. Suppose you have a recruitment specialist who is working on recruitment, and you are implementing the Oracle module, recruitment module of Oracle HRMS, and you are not involving that particular person in that implementation, or not trying to understand what his pain points are, then he or she would not be using that system, because first, it was done without his or her buy-in. So he or she doesn't feel that he is a part of it. Secondly, they feel that the manual system that they have been doing till today serves them much better.
Yeah, possibly this is what Mithu was also touching on, right? This is the gap. Probably this is the gap that we need to decipher and understand. Thanks, Vikas. Ness, can we hear you?
Sure, thank you. Actually, to answer this question properly from my perspective, I would like to share our reality in our company. Maybe it may inspire, the participants. Since I'm thinking that we cannot link something with HR as long as there is an interconnection with business needs. And if you allow me, I just would like to give you a brief information about Schneider Electric, just to give insights about the linkage between, the business needs versus HR priorities around digitization. Schneider Electric is, I'm just thinking that you all know the brand, but we are basically providing energy and automation, digital solutions for efficiency and sustainability. And it's a really pleasure that our company is one of the biggest.
Ness, you may want to come closer to the laptop. Sure. The voice is muffled.
Okay. So we are one of the, let's say, big players in the digital transformation transformation of energy management and automation in our industry. So with such kind of a mission and vision, HR function has a very clear homework. As Viska has already mentioned, we need to be a key enabler to manage this digital transformation and the change itself by creating a value proposition on the need of the change, benefits of the change, and also HR function needs to be an early adapter and also key influencer within this change journey. And what I'm thinking is HR needs to be also accountable and responsible to lead the talent management and capability building agenda, to support the leaders and organizations as well, because we need to create a digitally friendly environment and agile organization to welcome digital citizenship, I would say. When you look to Schneider people strategy, one of our key priorities is that we are trying to prepare our employees for future skills, which are being digital and being agile. So to build those capabilities, specifically on digital competencies, as this is the topic of today, we are providing learning solutions to our people with a combination of technical and digital capabilities to integrate information technology and operational technology, which is also, consists of software and hardware. And we shouldn't also miss that, we need power skills to do it, as it has been mentioned by my colleagues as well. So we shouldn't miss this part. Last but not the least, I think HR functions should strongly work in the leadership piece. Because we need to prepare our leaders to manage this massive change. We need to encourage them to be agile enough and act as a quick adapter for newly required skills. And this is not an easy task. So thank you.
Yeah, wow. So one takeaway from what you said, Ness, besides what the other speakers said, is I've heard of an employee value proposition for the first time. I'm coining a word called need value proposition. I think that's what all those panelists touched on. I think this need value proposition, if we articulate it well as HR people, I think it'll go a long way. And I completely get what you're saying. HR people would always ask for the seat at the table. Now the seat at the table is already there. So what are we going to do with that is all upon us in the HR fraternity to make the best use of it. In fact, it's almost like baptism by fire. From not being included in meetings, we are in the chair to talk about all of this. Wonderful, wonderful. So that sets a good lead into the next question that I want to ask Rula. Rula, you're leading the function of HR of IT business, right? I think the two big responsibilities you'll have is, first of all, to advocate digitalization as a HR leader of an IT organization. And the next thing is, obviously, you're a born-bred HR person. You've grown in that environment. What advice do you give the leaders in striking a balance to ensure that all the things that these panelists said are taken care of? You can take an example. For example, it could be performance management. Somebody was speaking on performance management here. How would you strike that balance in recruiting? And what's your advice to the leadership?
Okay. If we'll go back to my organization, it's really, we can say it's a challenge to work with an IT or technology organization, because the standard is it's too high, and it's a new. Actually, it's not very new in UAE, but again, every year the standard of getting employee is more high and more specific to the core business. For the digital. For the digital technologies, as have also challenged in existing business models, and continue to do so. One of the key driving force of it's the capacity of innovation, and the consumerization of IT certainly also plays a role. I think we talk about how the digital process has been changed through the years, and sometimes things become more challenges for us as an HR to implement all this digitalization, and especially when you want to change the mindset of people who are like 20 years or more than 20 years inside the organization. So this is it's really take times, and it's challengeable, and it's not easy at all. When we hire people nowadays, we know that people is more into technology, into ITs, no matter if they are not working as a IT people, but again, things become more easier now to hire people, especially when the new era or new education level, it's totally changed.
So preparing the leaders, how do you then communicate to the leaders and influence them to adopt this change, where they're already from a particular mindset is what you're touching on, right? That's very important. So thanks Villa, for that. Mitu, one thing that all organizations have to go through is this shift in the way people look at things, right? And imagine that you were given an organization and you were to digitalize that organization, and you've been in the HR seat driving that change. What are the two strategies that you would advise your team? And what would you tell them? What are the two strategies you would tell your team and to the leaders to drive this change in an organization?
Dr. Badri, I think in terms of strategies, if I was leading, and wherein this is a very practical question where I have actually done these projects, and a year like 2020, if it has taught us as the HR fraternity one thing, it would be that every HR digitalization strategy should be organic. It cannot be a off-the-shelf strategy. It has to be grown within. When your strategy is grown from within your organization, it means it is directed by the needs of the end users, and its implementation is driven by the ways of working of your organization. So process and people alignment then become a piece of cake. Once we're sure about this, it is only then that you actually think of what is the technology that we need to drive this alignment. When you're conceptualizing a HR digitalization project, my sincere plea to HR leaders is own this project. Digitalization is to be owned by HR leaders. IT is just a support center for it. Digitalization processes do not become the ownership of IT. No, guys, it is us. It is the people who drive this implementation. And only then can we see a successfully implemented process there. I have had huge failures wherein we thought of implementing technology as the conceptualization of a digitalization strategy, like Vikas said, at very nascent stages of my career, and we let IT drive it. Getting a strategy off the shelf never works. please conceptualize HR digitalization strategies with the people in mind, the people who are going to use your strategy. If they are not on board, you don't need a strategy. Humanize it. You have a sure shot winner then. And secondly, any transformation in HR, let alone a digital one, needs to come with a clear objective, with the end in mind. And this end needs to make business sense. It's only then that we get buy-in, not only from the board and the C-level, but also from the people who are going to use this. A lot of HR professionals even today need to know that HR needs to feed into vertical alignment and talk business. A strategy without a business objective to meet is like you're ready to shoot with no target in sight. So for me, I think these will be the two main points when anybody, any HR leader is thinking of HR digitalization in their organizations.
Wow. So work with people in mind because they are the ones who are going to be influenced. And then the most important statement that you made, which sounded like music to me, is HR should lead that change. IT can help us, but then HR should lead that change. And what better opportunity and challenge can HR professionals sit on, right? To influence the whole organization, come up with a change management. And often, Mithu, when we try to do something in organizations these days, one follow-up question to you. There is this hurry in getting things done. You know, everything has to be done. And before we close our eye, there's another IT initiative coming in, some digital change happening. And you would agree that everything is about change management, and each change management is altering behaviors of people. How do we then strike that balance between quickly managing change and getting things rolled out, and how does that work?
I think for us, when we have to balance both sides, Dr. Badri. We need to balance our people, their understanding, what are their inputs in it, and also the project itself. We have to go hand in hand with IT in terms of implementation, in terms of end user profiles, in terms of, and every milestone that we hit, even though it is the smallest of milestones, it needs to be celebrated. I think when we are treating one project as one single project.
Okay, you're my.
When we treat one single project as one whole, it really gets tough to manage it and to balance it. For me, I think I treat every single phase of the project as one whole. So when we reach one certain milestone, I'm going to celebrate it, however small that milestone is. I will follow John Cotter's change management principles, but I will follow it within my organization and how it suits it. So it gives me ample space and ample opportunity with my team to balance off the logical and balance of the human factor.
Wow. I think that's interesting. And I think that's the need of the day, right, Mithu? I think that's what we need to be thriving on as HR professionals.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So moving on to Vikas. Vikas, you touched on a very important part of culture, right? You said people, culture, and the third thing you said, Vikas? People, culture, and I think technology, right? So yeah, talking about culture, culture is often the most used word in the HR fraternity, yet the most ignored in terms of how we need to be influencing that change. What's your advice to leaders on getting this unseen cultural change to happen, where we're not getting too digital and ignoring the humaneness, to the extent that digitalization should not lead to dehumanization, right? If I were to say that. How would you make that happen?
Dr. Badri, I think you are absolutely right. Sometimes digitalization does lead to dehumanization.
Yeah.
Go to an extent where it is, we go for overkill because it is the in thing at times that, yeah, this is a nice thing to do. And sometimes you even get pressure from your board that, you know, I've heard about this company, they have digitalized their operations. Why can't we do that? So that kind of thing. So, but having said that, the most important thing that for any transformation, be it digital, be it anything else, or be it HR, or be it any other function or a business on a whole, is the culture of the organization. What kind of culture do you have in your organization, and what kind of organization? I think I touched upon it earlier as well, that that you have. What kind of business are you in? So basically, if your culture is something where you are, it is not a very transparent culture. It's a top down culture. Then more often than not, you will the process will be more of a top driven process, where what people sitting at the top think that, okay, I need to digitalize the mining inventory. Let's do it. However, they do not understand the problems or the pain points of a mining inventory guy who is working on it, or the department that works on it. So, and since the culture is not a transparent culture where they can speak openly about their issues, because sometimes sharing problems is considered to be a lack in competency. There are certain cultures like that. If you go to your manager and tell him that, I'm unable to do this, I need this help, and they say, okay, maybe you don't know how to do this job. So those are things which are very unfortunate, but they still exist, and there are organizations which work on that pattern. So doing any kind of transformation in such organizations is going to be very, very challenging. And more often than not, you see, digitalization is simple. If you just look at it, it is like bringing, I think Miku touched upon it, and the other panelists also touched upon it, that if you want to just do it for the sake of doing, you can just get a software from anywhere, and then you can ask your IT guys to implement it. But till the time your people, your culture is not adapted or is not aligned to the change that you want to do, it is not going to make any meaningful impact. You will just be spending time and effort and money in doing it. So what I believe, and what we normally do in our organization, and again we have learned it by experience, that first of all, you need to develop a culture and where people feel free to talk and discuss things, bottom to top. Even our business plan, when we do it, again, just to let you know, means we have also automated our business planning process. I mean, just that the tracking of it. So when people are able to give their suggestion, and even a worker can come and send his suggestions to the top management, and what are pain points and other things. It's not that you can solve everything in one go. That's not practically possible. You require so many different resources for that. And again, the organizations are run based on priorities, because organizations also have to survive in order to, and they need to be sustainable. So you can't do everything at one go. So you need to kind of slowly and steadily understand what are your issues accordingly. So basically, if I have to say it in short, understand, create a culture which is open, but it can be done. And then talk to the people who you feel would be impacted, understand their needs and wants and their pain points, and then align technology to their needs. It's not that business needs or people have to align their needs to the technology. It's technology that needs to align, because technology is going to help people. It's not the other way around. So, and if there, as I said earlier, if there is no buy-in from people, then it's not going to work. You will have a system which nobody uses. I can give you an example where we had when you are working as expat, we have a lot of expat employees working with us, and expats get a benefit of air tickets traveling to their countries and all this stuff. We have automated that process somewhere back in 2011 or something. And again, we were in the initial stages of automation. It was done in a way where nobody used the system, because they said that, this is not my problem. I want to know when did I take my last ticket, and when is my next ticket due. I need that information. Your system doesn't provide any such information. It just says, this is where I want to go to, and then the head of HR approves it. I need data. So what they used to do, they instead of having a system, they used to come to HR department to understand, okay, when was the last time I went on vacation? What is my, if I've been working for 5 years, how many tickets have I availed? And all that, again, a very basic stuff, but if done properly, it has, because, you know, we are, as a mining organization, we are into multiple sites, multi-country operations we have. So if you like in Oman, our head office in Muscat, our mine is in Soha, which is 200 kilometers away from the head office. So we can afford people to come every now and then to office to discuss such things.
True.
So that is a waste of time, money, and effort. So those kind of things we implemented, and again, there we realized that we need to talk to people, understand what are their requirements, and again, it cannot be done if you don't have a conducive culture.
So because I think the most important point you touched upon is, how do we create an environment where everybody feels free to speak up? Because
sorry, come again, Dr. Badri?
Yeah, feels free to speak up. Everybody feels free to speak up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Yeah. So everybody feels free to speak up, and this has to be driven top down and then adopted by people. And most importantly, you made a very good point, right? Understand the essence of what we're trying to do and transform that into communications and change management, almost to the extent that if you do it for the sake of doing it, you may get what you do not want, right? Absolutely. I think that has to be clearly understood right through, and that sort of a clarity has to be brought in to ensure that the cultural transformation happens. Thanks. So moving, So moving on to Ness. Ness, you hold the portfolio of learning, right? I think we all have heard so much about how learning has changed. Guess what? I've not attended a physical learning session for the last 2 years. And how has this changed? You know, how has learning changed? And what are some of the things that you're doing? And what sort of investments is Schneider doing in this area of learning? And how are you still maintaining that? You know, people in my team come and tell me often, I really wish we had a training face-to-face, right? I hear that comment from people coming in my immediate team. They almost say that, you know, can we all gather in some place and do a sort of a training? So how does this transform, you know, and this is the most ignored thing, investment in learning and making people understand the technologies. What is Schneider doing in the space?
Actually, when you are asking the question, I was just, you know, thinking about to share something with the group. Maybe it can be good, you know, food for thought, let's say. We have started very recently a leadership communications program with INSEAD, and this is totally digital. And when you think about, you know, communications capability, to leverage communications capabilities, just to have, you know, someone in the video, and we have, you know, digital portion in the learning. And I just would like to, you know, just, you know, for my curiosity, I just connected with senior leaders who has been enrolled. And what I have found is still all have shared that, you know, it would be really good to at least have a kind of an interaction and, you know, just to, you know, just to feel the, you know, human touch. I think that this is a very valid point, because maybe we did something not very proper, because there needs to be, you know, a change, you know, and the transition. So what we did basically is, you know, nothing interactive, no classroom, so for sure, and all the materials are digital. And now this is showing us that even at the executive level, we can feel the resistance. So, and this is very normal. Yeah. So, and what, I mean, Schneider Electric is really good in acting, you know, with sense of urgency in creating, you know, kind of content for all kind of population, for different job code holders and so on. But what I really would like to share here with the group is maybe, I mean, I think we are pioneering it in terms of digitization. the group has launched kind of an assessment, digital knowledge check assessment, which is intended to help learners self-evaluate their basic knowledge on various digital aspects like cybersecurity, digital economy, data science, computer science, these kind of really, let's say, sophisticated, digital capabilities. And this is for everyone. At the first stage, we did not include, let's say, blue-collar workers in this tool because it's really very hard. I mean, for many of our people to understand because it has 100 questions. Each employee needs to answer this within a time-bounded, let's say, period, and then they can easily, get the individual results. And we have a digital portfolio in our learning space called My Learning Link. They can just easily, can see their scores, and they can just start learning around digital capabilities. I think this is, I haven't heard it from any of the companies, by the way. So I think Schneider is pioneering these kind of things. And also what I can share with you is with the new norm, as we have been facing with this COVID issue, we were agile enough to bring virtual selling learning content to our sales employees. Because when you look to the overall employee population, sales population is very important, and we need to make them equipped and skilled while managing their customer interactions in a virtual format, which is very new for them. So they were just, educated for physical, let's say, interactions and physical customer visits. But now everything has been changed and collapsed for them. So what we have been doing is for the last 8 to 10 months, we are enrolling them in this virtual selling capability building program, and it's around 5 hours, and it's not easy. And then we are really trying to mentor and coach them to really, make it as a success.
Wow.
So considering that COVID is still very resilient in many of the countries, I think these new skills of selling become vital for salespeople to sustain the relationship and still creating value and impact without any disruption. So I can just, these things come up to my mind. Maybe it would be helpful for the community.
So Ness, going back to the question, going back to the point you're making on doing a real sort of a reality check on how digitally aware people are. Yes. So with the data that you collect, right? I think that's, let me first compliment you. It's a great initiative, and right on this video, I'm telling you, I'm going to steal that idea. Yeah. So what do you then do with that data?
Actually, as of today, we are not planning to do any, let's say, splitting, mapping, okay, or using the data to assess our employees. No, this is not the ambition. What we are doing here is to really encourage our employees to reflect on themselves, to really understand what are the strengths and what are the needs around digital competencies, because they need to own their own development. And they need to start learning from scratch if they are not good at things. Because jobs are changing, and we cannot be, skilled and equipped for every job that hasn't been created, still. So, but this is a tool that they can see themselves, reflect, and start from somewhere. So it's just a helping hand. But on the other side, we have a talent review process where we are really mapping our talents as expert or disruptors or at basic level, so that we can start helping them and to really make them to take proper jobs in the organization.
Excellent. And that's a form of a survey that they need to answer. Excellent.
Yes, exactly.
Great. I think those were some very, very good inputs from everybody. Let me just quickly summarize this whole thing, right? So this change has to be driven by the HR function, and that sounded like music to my ears, and I will take that back. And I love the idea of articulating a need value proposition. So gone are the days of employee value proposition. That's very important. I think we need to articulate a need value proposition, and once that need is communicated to the organization, there follows everything. And the point that Vikas made is very, very important and pertinent, I guess. I think more and more, if we do not encourage the transparency, what will happen is we are all disconnected. We are all working from the comforts of our home. And if that transparency does not come through, what did not come through physically will even get farther. So transparency is extremely important if you want to drive a cultural change. And the point that Rula made is deal with it. There are senior leaders who are there in these positions for 20, 25 years, 35 years, who might not be adept with technology. Learn how to work it around, and therein lies the change. And most importantly, the last point is, how do we spread this awareness as HR experts to ensure that we still stay human and do not dehumanize the whole thing? I think that was a lovely, lovely discussion. I took away a lot from this. I'm sure the audience is too. I think, Ashish, if we have a couple of minutes, we can take a couple of questions and ask the panelists. Would that be okay?
So, Badri, if you permit me to say
please.
a couple of things, because I really enjoyed the conversation. I think
please.
Some really important points of employee centricity were brought by the panel. So thank you very much for that. I think one learning very clearly is these are tough times. These are the times where you make life as simple as possible. It's better for everyone. Because we are now dealing with basic existence or non-existence of human life in the pandemic. The seriousness and severity of this particular pandemic, especially in the second wave, is actually looking at everybody has to look at their own existence in life. In scenarios like this, I think if we can move from process centricity to people centricity in the organization, in everything that you do, and set it as a goal for 2021, I think in long run, these organizations will actually see big value that they'll create for future. All of us know when it comes to life, nothing else is more important than saving one's own life and family's life. At this stage and age where we are today, we are forced today, the more simple we remain, more humane we remain, we will be the employer that everyone would love. And therefore I'm saying that if at all this pandemic did any favor to any function, and this is a very loaded comment, permit me to say this, between these 60, 70 people, it has done favor to the HR function. There were debates in Memoria for, is it a staff function, is it a support function? HR guy only talks in thin air, HR guy only talks in non-quantitative terms, HR guy whenever comes on the table talks about qualitative. There is nothing measurable that I hear from him. And here you are forced in the pandemic to look at the heartbeats of people so that they are alive tomorrow. Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, which all of us learned in the first chapter of our MBA program, has suddenly become upside down. The level 6 that we saw is become level 1 virtually. Employee self-safety and family safety is of paramount importance in today's context. And nobody else except the HR leader has to today sit with the CEO and MD and be his partner to guide the organizations as they move ahead. We always heard that CFO was the most trusted partner of a CEO. No more, sir and madam. It is a CHRO, because he is now going to tell the leadership, the board, that if people are with you and if they survive, you take care of them, you empathize with them, show them care and concern, they stay with you, normalcy comes, these organizations will have tailwinds. This organization will fly into the orbit. That's the very, very central role HR leader has got today in the pandemic. The CHROs who have done this really well, and we can see that number of them, and I'm sure all of you are doing that in your own organizations. This is the time for HR to stand up and measure your guts and stand in the way of any, whether it is digitalization, whether it is technology, whether it is job cuts, whether it is whatever coming to employees. If you stand in between and become a conscious keeper of the organization, you would have done immense service to not only to the organization but to the humanity. And I think the role therefore has become all pervasive. It has gone beyond the four walls of every organization. It has become a role of people champion in real sense, and therefore HR is actually today at the nucleus of every business. And therefore I think it's really tough time for organization, but for good HR leaders, this is the time to show your mettle. This is the time to humanize everything that organization is today dealing with and move from process centricity to people centricity. Thank you. I just wanted to come in for 2 minutes.
Thanks so much, Sanjay. That's exactly the point, right? So grab the opportunity. We are all sitting on a golden opportunity. It's for us to make the best use of it in a constructive way to create that change. Thanks so much, Sanjay, for adding that. So Sanjay and Ashish, do we have time for a couple of questions or do we end?
Dr. Badri,
I think we overran by 5 minutes.
Yeah, there is no question actually. I did post, if anybody would like to ask. So
there is one question on performance management. In these times, does the panel truly believe performance management is really needed? How do you humanize digitization and performance management given the pandemic effect from Vikram? Quick answers, 2 minutes, and we can end this session. Any panelist, please. Sanjay, you included, sir.
Sorry, I missed that. What was the question you said?
Yeah, in these times, does the panel truly believe performance management is really needed? How do you then humanize digitization and performance management given the pandemic effects?
To my belief, performance management is moving away from measuring to conversations already. And probably this is the right time to have in-depth conversations with your people. Don't show them any scale of measurement. Just show, it's time for HR to move from logic to emotion. HR leader to move from being from here to coming here. this faculty of human being is about logic, and this faculty of human being is about emotions. Because if you show the right emotions, forget the measurement, carry your people with you. People won't mind. You don't measure them, don't give them increases. As long as you tell them, guys, tough times, we are with you, we will tide over these times.
True.
Take that as an interim objective, and I'm sure you will have done a yeoman service to your people and your business.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Sanjay. So back to you, Ashish, for your...
Thank you, Dr. Badri, and thanks everyone. Before I just say, bye-bye and be safe. Yes, there are many takeaways. Dr. Badri has summarized as well on regular basis, and that was closing remark kind of coming from Sanjay Muttal, so I won't take much time. But yes, I will just take less than 2 minutes. I saw one platform where there is a chat box. In the chat box it is appearing say something nice. By default it was appearing say something nice. So it brings kind of a smile even when you try to write down something over there, and perhaps it pushes you to write down something nice as well. So that kind of touch it is coming also from the technology and the way automation is taking, Dr. Badri, 60% job will be automated. Chatbot will come ahead and talk to us. So many things will be regularized. While we are struggling about the beds in hospital, why not, it has to be done like this, that, the way we book the movie ticket and we choose the place to sit over there, why not the bed availability can be provided? It is more than the normal situation, but it has to be like this in the normal situation. Beside the bed, then go to hospital. Even I can go one step ahead where, the pizza booking online, you can see how much tracking, right now it is in this place, that place, and all. So those kind of automation is happening. It has to be probably across and all. Yeah, we have seen one of the biggest automation in HR is virtual and remote onboarding. We never thought about it, that we will do it. And today it is the reality, which is happening. Everybody accepted, everybody adopted, start from HR to manager to CEO to leadership and all. So I will pause here. I will say once again, thank you to each one of you, Mitu, Rula, and then Vikas, Dr. Badri, Sanjay Muttal, and Nesh is logged out. Thank you, Nesh, for joining us.
Sorry, one important thing I wanted to flag off. KIT University auspices whose this event is happening is extremely delighted to have you virtually connected, and when you are in India next time, when normalcy happens, physically connected. The university is giving special focus in terms of Middle Eastern efforts, Middle Eastern learning, and Middle Eastern industry practices. So some of them will be very, very happy to engage with you. And if you have time, we could also put you in touch with them. Fortunately, we have all our coordinates, and I'm going to request Ashish to pass it on to the university, and feel free to engage with them. I work on the board of advisors, and our aim to make this university most industry friendly university, because most of the time what you learn and what industry expects, there is a yawning gap. What we're trying to do in our own way is to ensure that that gap is as small as possible, so that you get industry ready professionals. So I will end here. Thank you very much once again. Stay safe and just spread positivity. A lot of negativity in the air. People don't smile. People are very, very sad. Just don't be sad. Spread as much positivity as you can, because I think this shall also pass. Yes, thank you very much. Have a good evening, good night, Shabba Khair, Ma Salama.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Thanks. Take care, be safe.
Thank you.
Hi Randir, how are you? Randir on mute. Still on mute. Mr. Gaurav Gupta, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How about you?
Fine, fine, Randir. You left
National Park.
you left the western side and you gone to eastern
Yeah,
side. Huh?
yeah.
Likewise, Gaurav also left us and he is in Delhi now.
Yeah.
Who else I know on this? Ravi. Hi Ravi, after a long time. Debraj is a dear colleague from KT University. Hi Debraj.
The face is also there, right?
Hey Pramod, how are you?
And sir, I would expect for more sessions like this.
Yes, yes. Yeah, every day it's happening almost. And situation is like this. Many people may not be looking for a session. Reason
Yes.
is, they are not available, because they may be fighting with something else. Let's understand. That's the
Right.
reality. While we are talking to each other, session is happening. Many people must be in the hospital, on the road, at
Yes.
home,
Yes,
taking
yes.
care of the family
Very
member
true.
and all. So yes, it's a reality, but it will not stay for a long time. And at the same time, not everybody in this situation, So we
Yes.
should not make situation so scary that guys know let's not do it because XYZ happening. It's just like challenge any news challenge
Correct.
news channel will show what they want to show, but there are better things also.
Yeah.
And better thing may come when there are set up people, when there's set up media who can come forward and say, yes, guys, number of vaccination done so far, number of people being recovered so far. There are so many countries supporting us, graphs moving up and down. So yes, session are happening. It will happen. I will do my best. But yes, I am pushing lot.
Yes.
Oh, Randir, how's Dombivali?
Yeah, it's amazing, I think.
Okay,
Enjoying, but
enjoying. Great.
yeah. I'm requesting to all my friends, please take vaccine. It's available to all who is above 18 years. Please book your appointment and get the vaccine.
But Randir, I would say otherwise. Okay,
Yeah.
it's my personal that guys, just because this is picking up, so there are a lot of pressure to take the vaccine, and there is a huge queue. Huge queue. You go
But
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and what's happening over there? There is no social distance. People not self-discipline. Maybe then from there you are catching a virus.
It's true, sir. It's true.
So go to the places where you can really get it done within social distance.
All the COVID norms.
Within a reasonable time frame.
In private hospitals also, they are maintaining the social distancing and COVID rules. But somehow some government vaccination center is also good.
Yes.
Try to go not in the early morning. Good time is around 1 to 3.
1 to 3, yeah, when it is ending and all.
Lunch hour, and this time is good for all. There is no rush, no queue.
Correct.
I have taken the first dose. Now waiting for a second. It will be due after 7th of May.
Yeah. No, it is must. No doubt, it is must. But just look at the timing and all. See, if you are sitting 24 hours, 7 days, full month at home, then perhaps still you can survive. But if you are on the road doing something, meeting some people, then at least then vaccine can at least save some of the thing. But if you are at home 100%, you don't need to worry. But you never know, because people are saying virus is kind of became airborne, air stay. So so I mean, really situation is bad, and we don't know what is the third wave or something like this.
Yeah.
What it will bring.
It's work, sir.
Yeah. So what it will bring, we don't know.
Yeah.
So we hope
everything will be fine.
We should not venture out and be a Superman and put government, our health staff to be in a problem, because they are already fighting with so many issues and all.
Yeah.
I never saw government working so hard. Each and every department I mean, they are not sleeping, believe me.
Mhm.
We can imagine Pramod, Gaurav and Randir, when we make HR policy, we take
Yes.
almost 1 or 2 months,
Yeah.
right? For 100
Yes.
people, 10,000 people.
Correct,
They
sir.
prepare a document and circular, releasing in every 7 days, which is applicable to almost 50 lakhs to 1 crore people.
People.
In minor to minor detail, because when you look at the document, you say this is not covered. Then you start blaming. So these people too working hard,
Yeah.
which, I mean, whichever state you talk about, I don't want to talk about, good state.
Actually, we are talking about digitalization. Then in government sector, maximum people are believing in the hard copy or manual work. Huh? So that is main problem. Hardly 10% people is working on computers and digitally sound. Huh? If you consider in our organization, we hardly 1 to 2. I am doing another people work in the pandemic, in the lockdown, because I know the computer, I know the online work and all that thing. So that is the main issue. Otherwise, one person is the overload and another person is not doing anything, but attending duty manually, but not doing anything. So that is a problem of the government. Otherwise, somehow some people is working hard in the governments also, and essential people just like
Randir, if situation do not improve in some of the government,
then
it's better, private company take over them.
Yeah, obviously.
That can be the last option.
Yeah,
Okay.
gotcha.
Or at the leadership level, people need to be very tough, which is not possible, because there are the people who spend 15, 20 years, and it's really difficult to change their mindset.
Yeah.
That's also impossible.
Yeah.
Okay, those who are on the screen, anybody like to say something? It's a casual conversation we are doing. Anything you like to talk? Shelly, Deb, Ravi, Parth, Nandita, Anaga, Kumar, Shruti, Akhil, Sandeep. Gaurav logged in, and I think he's gone somewhere else. That's what I'm seeing, Okay, Victoria is also there. Victoria Vardish. Okay, guys. Okay. Thanks, Randir. Thanks everyone for joining. There is the next session which is on this Saturday. That's International Talent Acquisition Conclave, where I have brought a speaker from Nigeria, Dubai, Singapore, Philippines, and one more location. Kuwait. Yeah, that's going to happen at 5:30 to 6 o'clock. Detail will come. If you are part of any group, it will come. Yeah.
Definitely.
See you there. Be safe. Take care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please take care, all of you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.